Right, so let's delve into some tidbits regarding the price and release date for the Apple Silicon Mac Pro. But first, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors. And with that being said, let's just tuck in. Right, so delving into the price, the information is from Max Tech. They've been contacted by a source, though do note this source has no credibility whatsoever, so take the information with a massive grain of salt. But anyways, their source says the next generation Apple Silicon Mac Pro is roughly going to be the same price as an i9 iMac, which retails for around $2,700, and the highest they're willing to go is $3,000. Now yes, I know what you're thinking, the Intel Mac Pro right now is $6,000. Are you really trying to tell me that Apple's gonna make the Apple Silicon model half the price of that model? Apple never gives us discounts, so that's completely unrealistic, right? Well, actually no, believe it or not, this is pretty realistic because we know with the Mac Pro, the biggest cost for Apple is the fact they're outsourcing parts from other companies like the Intel CPU and the AMD GPUs. So once you take them out of the equation, the price becomes pretty reasonable. And so yes, I can expect Apple going as low as $3,000 for the next Apple Silicon Mac Pro. And do remember, the iMac Pro is dead. We no longer need a device that sits in between the bigger iMac and the Mac Pro, and so Apple can of course give us a cheaper Mac Pro that sits a little closer in terms of price to the rest of the range. So yes, I know the source is not very credible, but this does make a ton of sense. I do think $3,000 will be the new price of this Apple Silicon Mac Pro. Now as for the release date, this comes from a more credible source, Mark Gurman, because he says that Apple's going to be releasing the Mac Pro at the very end of the Apple Silicon transition, which should be at around November 2022, so yes, there's gonna be quite a wait for this Apple Silicon Mac Pro. Though do remember with the last Mac Pro, Apple announced the product at WWDC and then released it in December, and so maybe Apple does the same with the Mac Pro. Maybe they announce it at WWDC and show us the features and the performance, and then of course officially release it to the public around November or December. I think Apple can afford to pre-announce the Mac Pro months ahead of launch because the Mac Pro is not a massive seller. I doubt they're selling many units, and so they're not exactly losing out on a ton of sales by pre-announcing the Apple Silicon Mac Pro while Apple sells the existing Intel version. Oh, also do note that Apple does plan to keep around the Intel version of the Mac Pro, and I guess they might sell on the Intel version for a few years because some specialized professional hardware only works with x86, and since professionals rely on this for their work, I doubt they're going to move to ARM anytime soon. So yes, for that specialized niche market, Apple keeps around the Intel Mac Pro. And actually coming back to the price, that is another piece of evidence that could suggest the Apple Silicon Mac Pro is going to be cheaper, because if Apple's going to keep around the Intel model, the Apple Silicon version is going to be below it in the lineup, and so that means it has to be cheaper than the entry-level price of the Mac Pro, which is $6,000. Also, do remember that older Mac Pros have started at $3,000, and so I think Apple's going back to their roots with the Mac Pro when it comes to pricing. As for the details on this Apple Silicon Mac Pro, we know it's going to be much smaller because obviously with the transition to Apple Silicon, motherboards are getting way smaller and they're taking up less internal space. And also do remember the upgradability you get with the current Mac Pro won't be coming to the Apple Silicon version, since of course Apple Silicon is an SoC, which means everything is built into one chip. That's why the efficiency and performance of M1 has been absolutely insane. And so yes, I don't see that changing with the Apple Silicon Mac Pro. But anyways, coming back to the design, apparently it's going to be a modern version of the Power Mac G4 Cube. Now that design looked absolutely amazing in my opinion. So yes, I would love to see Apple give us a modern version of that design with the next generation Mac Pro. Now as for the specs, Mark Gurman has said this Apple Silicon Mac Pro is going to be either twice or 4 times more powerful than the M1X MacBook Pro. And as for the actual numbers, we get either 20 or 40 cores when it comes to the CPU, and a whopping 64 or 128 cores for the GPU, which is absolutely insane, and I can't imagine what kind of benchmarks we're gonna get with that Mac Pro, but I am looking forward to seeing that. It should be pretty exciting stuff. And by the way, I don't think the Mac Pro is getting its own chip per se. Instead, I think they're gonna give us multiple M1X chips and pair them together to give us this insane performance. So yeah, those are all the details, but let me know in the comments below, if this Mac Pro was cheaper, would you consider buying one? Anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors. Check out the video in the icon above on details regarding the iPad mini 6. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya, peeps.